Hey guys, it's the day before Thanksgiving. I said I might not have a pickup video this week, but I do have a small one. First off, I went to the Salvation Army, and most of the time they're fairly picked over, but this time it was not a bust. I picked up the Interact Barracuda 2 for the PS2. It's for a third-party controller, it's extremely solid. The sticks are in great shape. The triggers are in great shape, and it appears that it has an orientation button for the shoulder buttons. So it looks like you could maybe switch R1, R2, switch them around with like the top shoulder button can be the bottom one, and use it as the triggers. If that's so, that's one of the first to do this. I have a Rocketfish Best Buy PS3 controller that does the same thing, and the Nyko Raven did the same thing for the PS3. I wasn't aware that there was actually a controller for the PS2 that did that. The other thing I like about it is it's got a nice raised D-pad, which won't make it perfect for fighting games, but it makes it ideal. And as I've said before, I love fighting games. I'm just not very good at them. But that's the Interact Barracuda 2. It's a pretty, like I said, pretty solid controller. It was $3. I'm glad to get it. And I said before, the third-party controllers do not bother me. I'd use them to preserve my first-party collection any day of the week. Up next is a third-party controller that was better than the original as far as I'm concerned, and that is the SuperPad 64. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It was $2.99, but this is a controller that Interact also made for the 64, and it's got the Z button right here as like a trigger, and it fits perfectly in your hand. As you can see, there's no stupid tri-horn thing like they did with the original 64 controller. I just didn't like that. This was $1 more. This was $3.99. But this is an outstanding controller, enough so that, being that I was able to find one on the cheap, because I see them go for about 20 bucks on eBay consistently, I was able to find an N64 on the cheap, and so I could just go back and play some Blast Corps. I would do it. That's one of my favorite games ever in the 64. There's Blast Corps, and I always forget there's one other game I really, really liked on the 64, but Blast Corps was by far my favorite game that was on the 64. I never got into the Marios or Zeldas on the 64. I just didn't. Something about them never grabbed me. But like I said, the Interact SuperPad 64 and Interact Barracuda 2, two pretty cool controllers. Those are the two controllers I picked up there. Then I picked up a pretty decent lot of games for the for the PS2, Xbox, and PS1 and GameCube. So I'm pretty happy with what I found. San Andreas, GTA San Andreas, complete. There's a bunch. Whoever donated this left a bunch of codes they had written down. I know it's not particularly valuable, but judging by the copyright and release date, this is the hot coffee version. I don't know. I don't even know how to activate it, and even if you can with the PS2. Yeah, judging by the date, it is the hot coffee version. One interesting thing on here is according to the price tag, they've had it since July 14th. Now, I don't know if it was at another Salvation Army store and it got moved up to the Grand Forks store just to see if they could sell it, but it certainly hasn't been at the Grand Forks one before. Up next is copy of Ratchet and Clank. All their games are $4.99. This again says that it's been there since the 14th of July, but it has not been, unless it was like tucked in with DVDs or whatever. But anyways, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. It's an Insomniac game, and right now, I don't think I've played any this year. I don't think I've played anything better than Sunset Overdrive, and that's including the Master Chief Collection. I played Sunset Overdrive already for about 2.5 hours today. It's a blast. The weapons, the guns, the character customization is amazing, and that's the thing. Shadow of Mordor would most likely be my favorite game, just because it's a fantasy style action RPG. but there's absolutely no customization in the game. Yes, you can pick your skill tree, you can level up your skill trees and everything, but you basically level up the entire skill tree for each of the 3 trees. So yeah, if I could pick how my character looked and customize him, Shadow of Mordor would most likely be my favorite game. I will say that I enjoy that Warner Brothers and Monolith are rolling out DLC packs and stuff like that like crazy, and a lot of it has been free, so that is a positive. But up next, X-Men 3, the official game. You know, I'm trying to collect the entire Xbox run. I don't have it. I don't think it was an amazing game, but I don't think it was a terrible game either. Then I found Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of the Cortex. I love these games, and I have it for all 3 systems now. I don't know how this works, and if I can even do it anymore, but being that I have a Game Boy Advance, I'm going to hook it up to my GameCube and see what exclusives unlock with it. This one came in like that afternoon. They just put it on the shelf, so I was glad to grab it up. GameCube games just in general are getting tougher to find. Then this is the EA Collector's Edition. They didn't actually give this one a name like they did with some of the other Collector's Editions, but it's got NASCAR Rumble, Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, and Sledstorm. This one was $1 more because there's 3 games in there at $5.99, but I found it interesting that when I did some research on this one is getting tougher to find as well, and the auctions put it at anywhere between $18 to $25. So I'm going to hang on to this because the discs are in great shape. I got to swap out the cases. The cardboard sleeve, which is what most of those collectors want, is a little worse for the wear. It's not the worst one I've ever seen, but it's got some creases and folds in it and whatnot, but it's not the worst condition one I've ever seen. Then I went over to, was it Home? No, it wasn't Home Goods. It was the thrift store in East Grand Forks. I cannot think of the name of it right now, but she sold me these at 49 cents a piece because she had no idea what to do with them. So this is pretty cool what I picked up for 49 cents a piece. There's 6 of them here, so they were $3 total. Vice City, the official strategy guide. Posters in there, maps in there, so that's really cool. Glad to have it. I don't have Vice City for any system, however, so I'm going to have to pick that up. I'd play through Vice City again. That's probably my favorite GTA. They just got, I don't know, I don't want to say to the point of overwhelming, but they got to the point for me where there was just so many options with so many things to do with so little reward oftentimes, and there's only so many times you can run around and blow stuff up and still have a fun time at it. Eventually it wore thin for me. They're fantastic looking games and they play great, and Rockstar nails it every time, but they just do not capture me the way they used to. Up next is strategy guide for Kill Switch, or kill.switch, whatever. It gets made fun of for the unnecessary punctuation in the middle. But this is really the first game that had a fluid... Winback actually came out before this and had a combat system, but Kill Switch had a fluid, actually usable cover system. So I don't have it. It played considerably better on the original Xbox than it did on the PS2. I might actually go out to Rock30 today and see if I can track down a copy, use some trade credit. So, and yeah, I'm sure you saw my bright red knuckles as I just scratched my beard. That's not from a fight. That's from the North Dakota wind in the winter. It dries out your hands and skin pretty quick. So this one I was really excited to get because this game kicked my ass, and if just any help I'll take. Castlevania Lament of Innocence strategy guide. Yep, it's all there. Medieval 2. I never played these games that much. I had a friend that was really into them, so I might actually track them down. I think maybe they're on the PSN, and maybe I'll put it on my PS3 and screw around with it for a little bit. Here's another one. This one is complete, and I don't even know if it got open. This game gets a bad rap, The Hobbit. To me, it was a poor man's Zelda. It's not perfect by any means, but I had a blast playing it, and it gets bad reviews, and I don't understand why. To me, it's about finding a game you can have fun with, and I had a lot of fun with this. Yes, it's cartoony. Yes, it's cartoony, and it's The Hobbit, but I had a blast playing this game and thought it was relatively good. I think Game Informer magazine gave it a good review, and they might have been the only ones to do so. And last but not least in that strategy guide lot, and I didn't even realize there was a strategy guide for this, so I'm glad to have it, is the Halo strategy guide. You know, I don't really need it, I just want to have it in the collection. Last week I was at Best Buy, and Project Spark was the deal of the day. I know you can, I already have the game downloaded, but there's a bunch of the starter pack stuff, and it was $14.99, which makes it cheaper than what was on Xbox Live. It also gives you a month of the premium membership, which I don't know what that means, but it gives you some scenarios. For those of you who don't know, it's like a world creator game. Not at all like Little Big Planet. Like, you can literally build any game you want. I am not very good at that. The one world I made, I had a lot of fun with tinkering around, but it was sloppy, and if I kept at it, I'd probably get good at it, but maybe not good at it, but at least have some level of proficiency, but I'm not going to try to get good at it. I'll just let those other guys. I know there's one guy who built a Zelda already for it, and it's phenomenal. I believe there's one guy who's trying to do a remake of Diablo 1 on there, and if he gets Diablo 1 on there, I'll download that. But as it stands, I'll play through the stuff that came with it. Oh, and as the deal of the day, it was $14.99 and 20% off, so I got it for $12. That's considerably cheaper than what you could get it on Xbox Live for. Then a lot of Xbox and Xbox 360 games came in the mail. They weren't together. They were separate lots, but this one I paid a little bit for. It was $22 after shipping. Kind of not super expensive, because some of these games to get in town I would have had to pay considerably more for at either First National Pawn or Rock 30, the two places I go quite a bit for used games. Up first, Area 51, a pseudo sequel to the original Area 51, has nothing to do with the light gun games. It's a first-person shooter with mild spellcasting sort of elements to the game. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. This one I already have a copy of, and it's always, always, always disappointed me that Microsoft hasn't done more with it, because it is their property, but it is Sudeki. It's complete. There's even an ad in here. I miss when they would do this. I miss that they don't do this anymore. You know, you don't get a manual, you don't get any of this. And I know there's the internet, but this has always been cool to me when you find a game that's got like a mini catalog with previews of their own games. So to give you an idea, Sudeki is fairly old because it's advertising. The main advertisement in the centerfold is the XSN, but that's there, so I'm glad to have it. The copy of Sudeki I actually have has got to be a fairly rarer one. It came with a copy of the soundtrack. I know that this game isn't particularly valuable, but with the soundtrack, it has to have some level of value because you just can't get it anymore. Sudeki is an action RPG, and you played as 4 different characters, and they each had their own different play mechanics. If I remember correctly, like the sorceress plays in first person for the spell casting. You can like see her wand and her hands like sort of shoot out to do the spells, and I think it's really cool. So I believe Microsoft still owns this property, and you're probably never going to see this, Phil Spencer, but you brought back Phantom Dust. Please bring back Sudeki. You guys need your own action RPG. Up next is Silent Hill 2 Restless Dreams. This is the Xbox exclusive version. Maria is a playable character. There's more content and more storyline revealed. There's new areas, weapons, and of course, you know, they list it as a feature, but enhanced graphics and lighting, because we know the original Xbox was at the time the most powerful home console ever built. Actually, at the time, the most ridiculously overpowered home console ever built. And last but not least, I know in my last video I got Otogi 2 from First National Pawn. I tracked down Otogi 1 in that lot. These two games made that lot worth it for me, and I don't have Area 51. So there was 3 games in that lot that I did not have. But Otogi Myth of Demons, I've said it before, From Software. It's a very heavy on the action with RPG elements. The combat is really good, and I just popped this in just to play it again. And the one thing I'll say is, I still think that graphically this thing holds up. Not amazingly well, but the level of polish that they put into the character and the lighting effects and the combat effects still make this game well worth it if you can track it down. I see it fluctuate in value. I know like a year ago it was going for $18 to $25, and right now it's going anywhere between $8 to $12. This one's complete. I will point out this person that sold these to me, they get an extra shout out because I've put up with a lot of garbage on eBay lately with people not sending packing material. These were well packed. They were wrapped in a box, completely in a box that was wrapped in bubble wrap, then put into a bubble mailer. So this person who sold these to me on eBay went above and beyond what they had to do. Then they just put a little piece of Scotch tape on the edge of each disc to make sure the disc didn't pop out and rattle around. As opposed to that person in St. Paul who sold me a stack of video games and put no packing material in it. And that one video that I went on a rant on about it, you see one person that cares about what they sell you, and the other person that's just like, screw it, I'm putting it in a box and shipping it out. And last but not least, an Xbox 360 lot. First up is Rage, the Anarchy Edition. I already have this. I have no use for it. One of my best friends in the world, Jason, does not have it yet, so he will get this copy. Not particularly valuable or hard to track down, but it is a lot of fun. Solid 15-20 hour game. Up next is Lost, the Via Domus. My girlfriend loved Lost. I only made it through the first season. These discs are in really great shape too, as I drop the case on the keyboard. But yeah, I remember that this was like an achievement hound kind of game. It was very easy to get all 1,000 achievement points, so I will do it for that. And I don't know if this is people having fond memories or what, but Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. It's a mouthful. I just got it for the original Xbox, and now to have it on the 360. This was also an achievement hound game. You could get all 1,000 achievement points fairly easily. It also allowed you to play as King Kong, so it's pretty cool. But recently on podcasts and whatnot from IGN, from IGN's stuff and some other lesser known podcasts, the Player One podcast, I believe, and this Xbox Live. A lot of these guys talk about how they actually enjoyed this game, but I remember it getting middle of the road reviews. Not that reviews are the end all be all by any means. If you enjoy a game, by all means play it. Heck, the Risen series is one of my favorite series, and I know that it's not great, but I have a blast playing them. But Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game. So it was a pretty solid week all the way around. Oh, one other thing I'm going to show, so I can show you that I'm going to do my live stream. I got the Roxio Pro Game Cap, or the Roxio Game Cap HD Pro. I know it's not as fancy as the Elgato, and I believe it's Hauppauge. I hope I'm saying that right. Hauppauge has their own capture cards too, and those are better known. But this one, after watching some setup stuff on YouTube, this actually looked pretty easy to set up. It's got a decent, the form factor of it isn't very big. This isn't much bigger than the Elgato. It's not very heavy. It's going to go right on my desk and run to my PC. So I'm actually going to use it to capture old gameplay video more than I'm going to use it to capture current stuff, being that you can broadcast right from your Xbox One and PS4. I have no real reason to hook it up to that. I will use this to run my old stuff, and being that I have all of my old systems run through an HDMI upscaler, I can plug it in HDMI, run it through, and capture footage from all of my old systems. So when I say old systems, obviously I don't have my in my office setup here, I have a second 360 and a second PS3, both things that I found at rummage sales on the dirt cheap this year. I wouldn't even have picked them up had I could. I got the Xbox for $40, and it's the Final Fantasy version, and I got the PS3 for $35, and it's just the 40 gig non backwards compatible version. But I spent $75 to get those two consoles, and they're still great consoles. So I use that to, I use those two primarily as offline consoles, and I'll use them for streaming. I know the PS3, I believe you can't stream through HDMI, so I'll track down a set of component cables to do some PS3 streaming. Otherwise, tomorrow I'm going to try to be on by 2:30 on, and I will post a quick video to let everybody know I'm going online for my Twitch stream. I'm gonna stream my Thanksgiving tradition of playing through Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360. Looking forward to doing it. Haven't played through Call of Duty 2 in a while, and as I said previous, it was my favorite game at the launch of the 360, and just for nostalgia's sake, I'll play through it again. It's interesting to note the original Xbox, the Beast, turned 13 years old. The 360 turned 9 years old, and the Xbox One just had its first birthday, as did the PS4. So it's interesting that doesn't feel like it's been 13 years since the original Halo came out. Doesn't feel like it's been 9 years since the 360 launched. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was not able to track down a 360 in store, but I got my original 360 off of eBay, because the gentleman who sold it to me mistakenly listed it in the original Xbox, and I remember I got it for about $80 more than what they were selling on eBay, and without sales tax, and he included a second controller, so that was key. So without sales tax added in, I only spent about $16 more than what I would have spent in Grand Forks. But like I said, I remember it like it was yesterday. I even called my good buddy Jason, who's getting this copy of Rage, and said, "Hey, what are we going to do next weekend after Thanksgiving?" And he's like, "I don't know, watch football." And I was like, "Yeah, and play an Xbox 360. And him and my buddy and our other buddy, Sean, came over the following week to watch the Vikings probably lose to somebody. And then after that, we played Perfect Dark Zero and Call of Duty 2 until like 11 o'clock or so on a Sunday night, which wasn't a big deal for me because I work nights, but those guys had day jobs, or have day jobs, and so for them to be out that late on a Sunday was just to play the Xbox 360 was pretty cool. But yeah, if you're not doing anything Thanksgiving afternoon, you're not hanging out with family, or you got a few minutes you can sneak away to a computer, I'm going to be live streaming Call of Duty 2. Thanks everybody, and I'll probably have a video next week, but otherwise have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.